the world must know that I love the Father. I do the things that please him. I obey his commands. So because of it, for Jesus to love me, he loved the Father first. His love for the Father is what compelled his actions. God loved his people. Jesus loved them. When I grow in my love for God, I will love what God loves and I will hate what God hates. God loves people. God loves human beings. So then I must love them. Regardless if they are black, white, green, or whatever color. God loves people, the human race. And one who is walking in love and being made into the likeness, fashioned into the likeness of Christ, is going to love the human race just as God loves the human race. He said, while we were yet sinners, look at our agape love in demonstration. He said, yet he loved me. And he sent Christ to die for me. So then I can begin to see the distinction between the eros kind of love, erotic love. Like I said, distinction of the philos kind of love that has even some root, but can also break. And I begin to see the love of God, and God said his love never fails. Now, let's go further into this. Agape means to choose to seek the best for others. It is selfless love. To seek the best for others. That's what the Bible tells us very clearly, even in Deuteronomy. He said, I set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Because of the love of God, even it was like a multiple question test. He said, I set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Then he gives me the answer. Choose life. Choose blessing. I mean, that's an awesome love. A love that tells you the options open to you. And because he's so desired to want to bless your life, he said, let me give you the option that's right. Choose life. Choose the blessings of God. Isn't that something? It is not self-seeking. It is selfless. God can exist by himself. He created us in his likeness and in his image. And he loved us unconditionally. And what we can do is love him back unconditionally. But we can't do that if you're not aware, if you don't have the revelation of God's passion and love towards you, that causes you to say, oh my God, I must change to be like him and to please him. So God's agape love means to choose to seek the best for others. Agape love is talking about our behavior towards others, not our feelings. Agape love, it doesn't have feelings in it. But eventually, feelings come out of it. Emotions are displayed in love. But the decision of agape has nothing to do with emotions. This is the God kind of love. It is constant and unconditional. God's agape love is constant and unconditional. It does not change. To be liked by God is entirely a different ballgame. But to be loved by God, it is constant and unchanging. He said, while we were yet sinners, moving in our own darkness, doing our own sin, everything, he said, but God loved me. And he loved me so much that he sent his only begotten son, who died for me, that I may have salvation. Okay? Because it's not human love, it's a divine kind of love. It is constant, it is unchanging. Okay? This gives it its distinction and the character of being holy in nature. The love of God's love is his nature displayed. But the nature of God is still holy. Because it's coming from the foundation of his holiness. God is holy. He said, I will always defend my holy name. This I will defend my love name. I will defend my holy name. So everything that proceeds from God, the characteristics that we see, is a reflection of his holiness. And because holiness means distinct, separated, that's why God's love has a distinction from the love of man. Love of man is still full of corruption. But the love of Christ and the love of God towards man is so pure, there is no darkness in it. Okay? This gives it what? Its distinction. Now, let me read this further to you. In comparison to Eros love, which is mainly of the emotions, agape's love is on a higher level. The love of God is on a higher level. And the amazing thing is that because God said I can be like him, then I have the grace and the opportunity open to me that I can grow in the agape kind of love. It's on a higher level. And while it may involve to some degree the emotions, but it's deeply rooted and involves the will. There's a freedom of will to make a choice to love. Okay? When you look at example people that remind us of agape love, because agape love is attainable as we grow in the Lord. It increases as we grow in the Lord. When I talk about agape love, let's look at Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa, she gave up everything to love the unlovable. she manifested the agape kind of love. She was showing evidence that she was growing in the agape kind of love. Her love for the people was unconditional. She didn't love them because they had anything to give to her. It was a selfless love. She cared for the people in India that people rejected. He cared for the ones that the parents threw out. He cared for the ones that had some defects, handicaps, different things. He cared for those who did not have a future so that they could have hope. It was such a selfless love. It was one of the close examples of what an agape kind of love is. So if a human being can display that, then God said it's attainable. But I cannot be able to attain something that I have no understanding about. So that's the beauty of it. It's the desire of the Father that we have understanding to holy things. It's the goal of the enemy to make sure we don't have exposure to holy things, knowledge. But if he can't stop you from having exposure to holy things, the knowledge of God, he wants to make sure you have no understanding of what you have. Because it's like you coming through the gate of something, you have the knowledge of it. But to close the other end of it, where you come out, everything is well put together, where there's a real change, you have to have understanding of it. So that's why God is having me paint the picture of a mother. When we think of a mother, we have an idea what it looks like. Now when I mention Mother Teresa, you can envision in your mind what that must look like. We'll take a short break and we'll be back. Welcome back from the break. Okay, so as I'm going to talk about agape kind of love, if you don't have anything to compare, how are you going to appreciate what an agape love is like? How will you have the passion to want to be like God in his love? Because you have to have something to compare. He said, my people are perishing for lack of what? Knowledge, information, understanding. The devil doesn't care if we have the knowledge of what we are hearing. You hear this information. But as long as you cannot process the information the way it gives you life, that's what the devil is more concerned about. But now, as we have something to compare, if you have nothing to compare, how can you appreciate what you have? If you have nothing to compare, how can you appreciate and strive for what is best? The enemy of best is better. The enemy of better is good. So, the best thing we want is to have understanding so we can move in the best God has for us. So, when we continue to say about agape love, just as we said about Mother Teresa, she reflects close to what an agape love looks like. It's love for the unlovely and the undeserving. It's not spontaneous. It springs from the will to love in spite of the unloveliness. In spite of the situation. How can these people go to places that others don't want to go? They are compelled by love. Paul even said it. He said, I'm compelled by the love of God to make known to you the truths of God so that you may not walk in deception and perish. Love compels that. When we talk about the agape kind of love, you know, I remember when I was growing in the Lord began to challenge me about begin to understand his love and grow in the knowledge of his love and the revelation of his love. And God began to say, I want you to love as I love. And I said, Lord, that's not possible. And God began to show me, yes, it's possible. He said, my son, when he died on the cross, he said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. Then he said, when Stephen, in Acts chapter 7, verse 59-60, when he was being stoned to death, he said, Father, do not put this charge against them, Lord. Into your hand I commit my spirit. It's the same thing. Paul said, he said, Lord, if the whole house of Israel can be saved, I don't mind if I'm a castaway. That means I don't care if I'm erased from earth.